Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to go over the newly released article from Tabstocks.com, and this is saying, is Zion Oil and Gas planning to sell the company? So kind of figured this was coming after they went ahead and appointed Frank Starr to the board of directors, and we kind of all know his history and his background. For those of you who don't know, we're going to review that before we go into this article. As you see here, he was appointed as an independent director, and he has over 30 years experience in the oil and gas operations, reservoir engineering, acquisitions, and management. And it goes through, it says from 2009 to 2014. He developed a 30,000 acre leasehold position and drilled over 35 horizontal wells in 2010. In 2014, they sold their assets to another company. And then kind of the same process from 2005 to 2008. It was a 5,500 acreage position in South Texas. They drilled 45 wells, sold their assets off to another company. And then from 98 to 2004, 65,000 acreage leasehold position. They drilled 120 vertical wells. And then in 2004, they sold their assets to another company. So you kind of see the pattern. So this kind of figured an article like this was going to come out talking about, hey, do you think this is where ZNOG is going? And it would kind of be exciting if that's where they were looking into the future at, because, you know, to bring someone in of that stature and that background, then they must have something, and they have, you know, some reason to bring that guy on. Of course, all speculation at this point, but all signs are kind of pointing to that, in my opinion. So let's kind of get into the article, guys. This is actually my first time reading it. I saw it pop up on the Facebook group, and I did not realize that this was up. So my apologies for being a little bit late on it, and thanks to the person who shared it. So, is Zion Oil and Gas planning to sell the company? On August 1st, 2022, Zion Oil and Gas released an update, and as you see below, they kind of state the updates. As they wrote, they received the license extension for their 99,000 acre Megiddo Jezreel license for 6 months from August 2nd to February 2nd into 2023. However, Zion Oil and Gas CEO Robert Dunn wrote more about their newly appointed independent director, Frank Starr II, than about their plans moving forward in relations to the license extension. Okay. It says, I listened to Mr. Starr talking a little bit about his background in a video filmed in 2019, and this entire article will be linked in the description below, so you can click on this link from the article that I'll have posted in here. I've actually listened to this as well. It says, in it, he says he forms companies to help. He says he forms companies and he helps to form companies, brings cash flow under control, then sells those companies. Naturally, being the suspicious character I am, I jumped to the conclusion that Zion Oil and Gas plans on selling the company. But for a company to be sold, Zion needs a buyer, and there has to be oil, or at least signs of oil, for a profitable acquisition. And is Zion Oil and Gas planning to sell the company? Yes, I think they are. My reasoning for this is that Zion has discovered a lot of oil. They are not experienced enough to develop oil wells for commercial production. John Brown is not getting any younger, and I get the impression that CEO Dunn wants to move on. Another major sign is that the permit Zion Oil and Gas seeks to drill another well. It's a stronger indicator that after encouraging oil from their MJ2 well, they move to secure another well. But Zion Oil and Gas has not informed the market in relation to any oil encounter, though the Zion Oil and Gas share price did rise to around 38 cents when I believe Zion had encountered oil. Of course, Zion Oil and Gas would need to negotiate terms with the landowners, and they wouldn't want to declare an oil encounter from MJ2 before receiving the permit to drill a new well, so as to receive the best deal. With a new oil well permit in place, Zion can announce oil discovery news and oil production news. Given Zion Oil and Gas is new to drilling and has no experience related to the commercial oil production, it makes sense to sell the company. To obtain the best price for the BOD and shareholders, which is board of directors, Zion Oil and Gas would need to show the oil. When would Zion sell the company? It could be in 2022 or early 2023. It's also possible that Zion Oil and Gas could sell off the oil production side of the business, but continue to drill. To get the best price for Zion Oil and Gas Company, there would need to be a sizable re-rate. This must be based on proven reserves, or at the very least, high production testing numbers. There are a number of possibilities that could take place. For instance, involving the 800 million new shares, a reverse split, a relisting on the NASDAQ. Shareholders stand to gain a lot of profit if ZNOG does sell the company before applying for commercial license after declaring an oil discovery. Speculation is thus likely to explode, but the Xylem Oil and Gas CEO told investors not to speculate. I would expect to see news of an oil discovery and oil production testing numbers in November 2022 after Xylem Oil and Gas receives its new drilling license. And it says, is it a good time to buy Xylem Oil and Gas? Based on the above, if I'm correct, then I think it is. With the share price currently trading at 23 cents, a major sell-off of the company based on the oil discovery will likely send the share price to rocket wildly. I suspect Xylem Oil and Gas will use the 800 million new shares to control the rise of the share price and prevent it from exploding, and thus fit in well with the transition on the NASDAQ at a later stage. At the end of the day, Mr. Starr is an entrepreneur who understands the oil business, having been educated in the field. In my view, the time to invest in Xylem Oil and Gas is now, before the share price goes to the moon. So some interesting points here. We're going to kind of go through each of these sections that he breaks down, and we're not going to break down the charts. I'll just talk about the charts because we've broken them down the last couple of days or last couple of videos, and we already kind of know what the support and resistance levels are and everything like that, because nothing has really changed on that aspect. The good news is it did bounce off of 22, so that's a really good sign moving forward, as long as we can go up a little bit to 25 or 26. However, if we come down and retest at 22 cents, then we could be in trouble and kind of test down to 15 to 16 cents. So in my opinion, now's the time for them to release anything positive and to make the price, kind of be supported around that level. So we'll just kind of wait and see, but don't hold your breath on that, right? So let's start off with this section here. It says, is Xylem Oil and Gas planning to sell the company? Well, speculation based on their new appointed independent director, in my opinion, is yes. They have all the plans in the world to have this guy come in, help them develop basically an oil field and drill all these wells, and then potentially sell all their assets off after the fact. And now, however, selling their assets off, I'm wondering if that maybe means, just once they're done with certain items or pieces of equipment, they sell it off, not necessarily sell the whole company, because kind of like to his point of, they don't have a lot of experience on the production side of things. However, this guy does from, it's not just like he came in and did it one time. He comes in to these certain businesses and he helps them get going and start producing and drilling all these wells, and he turns around and sells it. So if that's their overall long-term goal, more power to them. And it sounds like this is the guy that can help them achieve that goal, right? So based on his track record. And since, are they planning to sell the company? Like we just said, we're not sure. It's all kind of speculation at this point. We're not 100% sure, but those signs kind of point to, potentially yes, right? That's what kind of they're thinking now. And it says, when would Zion sell the company? Now, this here, he says it could be in 2022 or early 2023. I would think more or less, it would be a little bit longer than, 2022, 2023. Based on the track record of Frank Starr, he's, gone anywhere from 2 to maybe 4 years at a site before actually selling everything off, because you're drilling all these wells. You can't just go and drill them, get them done overnight. And especially what we've seen with Xylem Oil and Gas, the logistical part of it in Israel may take a lot longer. So it could be, years down the road if they want to sell this thing. So I don't think it's going to happen anywhere 2022, 2023. I could be completely wrong, but that's just kind of my opinion. So there are a number of possibilities that could take place, for instance, involving the 800 million new shares, a reverse split, and relisting on the NASDAQ. So addressing this here, don't forget that this was approved not this past year, but the year before, as far as them having them to give them the ability to reissue all the new shares. Okay, and so that can come at any time, right? That can come, they announce oil and the stock shoots up, and then all of a sudden they have a public offering. You see this all the time. It drives me freaking insane, because people who have been in these stocks or companies for years, all of a sudden they get news that they're looking for, and it starts shooting up, and then all of a sudden they release something like this, and people don't like that. The shareholders do not like that type of announcement, so the stock comes right back down. So be very, very cautious and careful on, whenever you see a big spike in the price, that, don't be afraid to, especially if you're longer term, to, take some profits off the table just in case, because keep that in the back of your mind. The reverse split thing, I'm sure hoping they don't do that, because that's obviously viewed as a negative as well. And it's basically, they'll do this if your stock price gets too low, then they'll do a reverse split to where the stock price will go up, and then they can use that to relist in the NASDAQ, because now they're going to meet the minimum qualifications of that price point. It's basically the opposite of a split. So for example, like for Tesla, the stock price is so high, what they do is they do a split, and they bring the stock price down to give retail investors more opportunities to buy into the company. This here, they do a reverse split, and they shoot the price up to get it on a major listing. That way they can give institutions a chance to come in and buy on these major indexes, because typically these bigger hedge funds, and so they're not going to fool with OTC stocks. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think that they're going to try to naturally, kind of organically work this out, just because they could have done a reverse split to keep them on the NASDAQ before they brought them down to the OTC. I think they brought them to the OTC to avoid doing a reverse split, in my opinion. That's just kind of me talking. And then the last part here says, is it a good time to buy Xylem gas right now? Like, is now the time to come in? I mean, it's been the time to come in, right? So it's really now or never. However, like, I've been pretty vocal on that I'm not buying anymore currently until we get some clarification on the results of testing and their future plans and things like that. If you're someone who's been on the sideline for a long time and you haven't put anything into the company, then a starter position, this would probably be a decent time to at least just kind of keep track of what's going on, okay? However, just keep in mind that this can go the opposite way as well. You've seen that with triple ENF, of what we all thought was a for sure thing on the Merlin 2 ended up being not a for sure thing, and then the stock price obviously tanked down, and then those either took their losses and got out, kind of like I did, or you're left holding the bag. So and I'm glad I did what I did with triple ENF. I did a very, very small starter position and decided that if news comes out of the Merlin 2 being positive, I was going to go heavier, as opposed to going heavier based on speculation and then just kind of holding it and hoping. Because keep in mind, guys, if let's say they do release great news talking about ZNOG, and they have all the intentions to developing this into an oil field, and they're going to come drill all these new wells, and they have X amount of barrels of oil per day. If it's at 23 cents, 25 cents, and you're not in yet, and it shoots up to, it shoots up 100%, guess what? 50 cents is still extremely cheap to buy in at, and you could easily, ride that up to, no telling what it will go to. But they come out and announce oil, the lower price point, I mean, it's going to go to at least $1, wouldn't you think? So let's say, you're thinking, well, I don't let anxiety build in, saying I better put all my money in it now, is you're going to probably have time to get in even after a spike, because if it spikes up, like I said, 25 to 50 cents is 100% gain. That's a big percentage gain on any stock, right? And then you might see a tiny pullback, and then you could possibly get in there, but you're going to have to keep up with what's going on. So what I'm saying is, if you haven't got in yet and you're looking to do a starter position, put something in to just track it, keep track of it. And I do that with stocks all the time. I'll buy 1 or 2 shares of it just to watch, to see if it's going up, it's going down. And if it's a company I believe in and it goes down, then I have a lot easier time averaging down at that point. But if it goes up, it catches my attention to say, okay, let's look and see exactly, do they have any news come out? Well, what do I need to do? Do I need to buy more? Do I need to ride the wave up, and things like that? So anyway, guys, that's all I got for you in this video. Let me know your comments below. Other than that, we will catch you in the next one.